What if I told you that one of the most feared cars on the planet doesn't come from Italy or Germany, but from Japan? And it can humble supercars costing 3 times its price. That car is a Nissan GT-R R35, nicknamed Godzilla. And no, not because it stomps on Tokyo, but because it stomps on Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Porsches on the track. The GT-R isn't just a car. It's a cultural icon, a piece of engineering wizardry, and maybe the last of its kind. So, how did a Japanese coupe born in 2007 become a legend that still strikes fear into the hearts of supercar owners in 2025? Let's dive in. It's the mid-2000s. Ferrari is ruling Formula One. Lamborghini is making V12 monsters. Porsche is fine-tuning the 911 like a Swiss watch. And then, Nissan, a brand known more for family sedans and practical SUVs, drops a car so outrageous, so ahead of its time, that the automotive world collectively spit out its espresso. The GT-R R35 wasn't just another sports car. It was a technological revolution on wheels. Twin-turbo V6, all-wheel drive, a launch control system that could make your stomach feel like it left your body, and perhaps most importantly, a price tag that undercut its rivals by hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was David versus Goliath. Except this David had 480 horsepower and a trick computer brain that basically drove the car for you. But before the R35, there was history. The Skyline GT-R bloodline stretches back to the 1960s in Japan. It wasn't glamorous at first. The Skyline began as a sensible sedan. But when Nissan got serious about racing, it became a monster. By the late 1980s and 1990s, the R32, R33, and R34 Skyline GT-Rs earned the Godzilla nickname in Australia because they dominated motorsport like a mythical beast that couldn't be stopped. So, when Nissan announced the R35, expectations weren't just high, they were astronomical. Fans wanted something that could carry the Godzilla name with honor. And oh boy, did it deliver. Here's where the R35 gets interesting. Most supercars of the era relied on brute force big V10s, V12s, roaring naturally aspirated engines. The GT-R, it played chess while others played checkers. Each R35 engine wasn't just built, it was hand-assembled by a single master craftsman in a clean room in Japan. These craftsmen were called Takumi, and their names were signed on a small plaque on each engine. Imagine buying a car and knowing a literal master built its heart just for you. The result? A 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 that pumped out 480 horsepower at launch. But the magic wasn't just under the hood. It was everywhere. Nissan developed one of the most advanced all-wheel drive systems ever. It could send power to whichever wheel needed it most, making the GT-R corner like it was on rails. And then there was the launch control. If you've ever seen a GT-R launch, you know it doesn't just accelerate, it disappears. 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds back in 2007. That was Bugatti territory. Oh, and the GT-R had a trick up its sleeve. A video game-style digital display on the dashboard, co-developed with Polyphony Digital, the makers of Gran Turismo. Drivers could monitor everything: G-forces, boost pressure, lap times, like they were inside a PlayStation game. But the GT-R wasn't just a car. It was a rule breaker. At Nürburgring, the legendary racetrack in Germany, where supercars proved their worth, Nissan showed up with the R35 and set lap times that embarrassed cars twice its price. Porsche and Ferrari were furious. They accused Nissan of cheating, saying the lap times weren't possible. Nissan's response? They invited journalists to test it themselves. And sure enough, the GT-R delivered. No cheating. Just genius engineering. It wasn't supposed to happen. A Nissan? Outsmarting Europe's finest? That was like your local sushi chef winning MasterChef Italy. But the R35 thrived on breaking expectations. From that point forward, the GT-R became known as the supercar killer. Car magazines loved putting it head-to-head with Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Porsches. And time again, the GT-R punched way above its weight class. On a drag strip, it could obliterate cars with double the horsepower. On a track, it stayed glued to the asphalt while others squirmed. On the street, it looked, well, let's be honest, kind of boxy and understated. While other supercars screamed, "Look at me," the GT-R was stealthy. A wolf in very plain clothing. The kind of car you might park outside a grocery store, and nobody would know it could humiliate a Lamborghini Aventador. Of course, Nissan didn't stop at the first version. Over the years, the R35 evolved. Power climbed from 480 horsepower to well over 600 in later models. The Turismo edition, the ultimate track-focused GT-R, became a weapon of precision. Aero upgrades, lightweight carbon parts, suspension tweaks. It was a road-legal race car. But even the standard GT-R kept getting sharper, faster, and smarter. It became this living legend that Nissan kept refining for over a decade. Few cars stay relevant that long. But here's what made the GT-R special beyond numbers. It wasn't just about speed. It was about accessibility. Owning a Lamborghini or Ferrari was like joining an exclusive country club. You needed money, connections, and a taste for showing off. The GT-R? It was the people's supercar. Sure, it wasn't cheap. It still cost around $70,000 to $100,000 depending on the year. But compared to a $300,000 Ferrari, it was practically a bargain. And it was reliable enough that you could drive it daily, not just on sunny weekends. It was the dream car you could actually dream about owning without selling your house. And then came the movies and video games. The R35 cemented itself in car culture through Fast and Furious, Gran Turismo, and countless YouTube drag races. It became a pop culture icon. Paul Walker's love for the GT-R made it immortal on the silver screen. In video games, it was always a fan favorite, an unbeatable choice for players who wanted to dominate. And because of that, the GT-R wasn't just a car you drove. It was a car you lived through in media, even if you couldn't afford one. But not everything was perfect. Critics argued the GT-R wasn't a pure driver's car. The computers did too much of the work. Unlike a Ferrari or Porsche, where every gear change and steering input was raw and mechanical, the GT-R was more like a computer-assisted missile. Some purists hated that. They said it was like playing a video game with cheat codes on. But for others, that was the point. The GT-R showed what was possible when you embrace technology instead of clinging to tradition. And now, here we are in 2025. The R35 has been around for almost 2 decades. That's ancient in car years. Rumors swirl about its successor, possibly hybrid, maybe electric. But the truth is, the R35 represents a moment in time that may never come again. A gas-powered, turbocharged, all-wheel drive beast built for one purpose: domination. With the world moving toward electric cars, the R35 might be the last Godzilla of its kind. So, what does the GT-R R35 really represent? It's not just speed. It's not just lap times. It's the idea that you don't have to be the biggest, richest, or flashiest to win. Sometimes, being smart, innovative, and bold is enough to change the game. The R35 was proof that a company known for family cars could make one of the greatest performance machines ever built. And maybe that's why, even after all these years, people still whisper the same word when they see one fly by: Godzilla. So, what do you think? Does the R35 still deserve its legendary status, or has time finally caught up to it? If you had the choice, would you take the stealthy Japanese Godzilla or the flashy Italian Bull? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you've ever dreamed of owning one. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the legends of the automotive world. Because this was just one monster story.
Obsessed with the rest, I got